what I was saying is that for this evening, we're going to talk about kindness. And I have found a really awesome resource on 30 different ways that we can show random acts of kindness in the middle of social distancing, which I thought was really creative if we can continue to do that. But before we do, I wanted to share some verses with you. And I also wanted to tell you, you don't have to write all of these down because I'm going to give you a link that will take you to, they actually have it done kind of like a bingo sheet. And you can just print it out if you want. If you want to write them down, feel free, but it's probably not necessary. And the link will take you to a website called Women's Ministries Toolbox. If you guys are leading in any way, or even just interacting with other women, even just family or neighbors, that website is so helpful. And I've gotten tons of resources off of there. So just wanted to share a couple verses with you. The first one is Proverbs 31:26, and these are not on the sheet. It's just the ideas that are there. Proverbs 31:26 says, "She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue." I was really challenged by this one to ask myself, when I open my mouth, is it wisdom that comes out? And then the second part of that says, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She's not just kind, she's teaching kindness. And sometimes we teach just by example, but it sounds to me, this of course is the Proverbs 31 woman who does everything well, but she is being extremely purposeful about kindness to the point that she's actually teaching other people to be kind. Proverbs 11:17 says, "A man who is kind benefits himself, but a cruel man hurts himself." And not that I would encourage you to be kind just so you can get something back, but that is one of probably 4 or 5 other verses that I'm not even sharing tonight that talk about basically the concept that we reap what we sow. And I think a lot of times, hopefully most times that we're being kind, we're not doing it to get something in return. But did you realize there are actually benefits to kindness? Colossians 3:12 says, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience." That's what we're to be wearing. And obviously we wear clothes as well. And there are many times that I think, oh, her outfit is so cute. And I can think of what someone was wearing. But what I'm wondering is, when people see you, do they think of you in terms of being someone who displays that compassion and kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience? Or do they just recognize what's on the outside? There are quite a few people who might not fit the world's version of Miss America, but they're loaded with kindness. And honestly, that's what I remember long after I remember what they're wearing. Galatians 6:10 says, "So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith." And so the household of faith would be our church or other believers that we interact with. And that verse says, "So then, as we have opportunity." And I was thinking that now we have unique opportunities that I think we probably won't have ever again. I hope not, honestly. At the same point, I don't know about you guys, but as they've talked about lifting things, and bringing back different elements of our economy, caused me a little bit of panic, because not even, anything to do with germs, but I was thinking, Lord, this is a unique time. I want to be sure that I have taken advantage of every opportunity that is here. And that when we go back to life as usual, I want there to be something positive from this. I want to have, memories of relationships that were better. And I just want to be purposeful about it. I don't want to just live my life waiting for things to be lifted without being purposeful with the time that we have. The Bible says, "This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it." That is a choice. And then just want to leave you with one more verse. It's 1 John 3:18. It says, little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth. And if you're looking for a book to read while we're off, Bob Goff, who is probably one of my favorite speakers and authors, wrote a book called Love Does. And the principle behind that book is exactly what the title is, that love does. Love doesn't just say that it loves, love actually does things. And so we don't love in order to be loved, but we love because we are loved. And so I say all that to say that we should love out of appreciation for the way that we've been loved. And somebody said years and years ago, there's nothing you can do to make God love you more, but there's also nothing you can do to make God love you less. And so as we're serving, those are things that we should consider. Give me a second here. I'm going to try and share my screen with you. Hopefully nothing happens when I do that. I want to share this board with you. And like I said, I will post the link with the video, and I'll post it on the table page as well. Let me see what I'm doing here. Bear with me. Okay. Oh no, it's not there. Give me another minute. Anybody have any thoughts on any of those scriptures? You can unmute yourself and speak if you do.
Okay, I do.
Okay, go for it.
I'm trying to give somebody else I feel like I take the stage too much. But last year I had a knee replacement. And after I had it done, I was not in a good spiritual spot. I literally hated everybody and everything because I was in pain. And I felt like the church needed to do more for me at that time. I didn't get a phone call or whatever, and that just added to it. And in the midst of that, God actually said to me, well, why don't you make a difference? Why don't you get involved? If you feel it's not right, and it should be, why are you looking to have it done for you? Why don't you volunteer and do something to help somebody else? So what happened was, yesterday I was at the food bank. Monday and Tuesday, I was at the food bank, and I never did that before, but Karen Baker had sent out an email saying if anybody could help. And so I'm going to start doing that on Tuesdays. And I feel like God just said to me, you know, make a difference. You have compassion, you love people, and make that difference, you know. And I'll tell you, Monday, I had a wave of depression on Sunday. I don't know why, I can't tell you. And Monday morning, when it was my time to go over to pack groceries, I absolutely felt like just going right back to bed. It was a gloomy day. It had just rained all night. And I had to fight through it, you know. And when I got there, there was a person I know, a friend that I know, and she said to me, you know, when things like that happen, I really needed to hear this. She said, I just do a worship dance. She said, I put on worship music and I just praise the Lord. And you know what? I'm going to try it. And had I not even done the food bank, I probably wouldn't have gotten that, you know, that advice. The other thing is that my relationship with a family member, my son, has just grown so beautifully. And I'm just so thankful for that. And, you know, I have seen when people have been mean to me or whatever, my mom always says, you know, honey goes down better than vinegar. You know, that I just try, I really try, and it's not always successful, but I really try to just see that they are probably full of fear, or something's behind that, what they're saying. There's probably like something deep rooted in them that they're not acting kind to me. It's really not about me, but it's more about them. So that's all I wanted to share.
Anybody else have any thoughts on any of those verses? Has anyone during this time period, or even, the last year or so, been the beneficiary of someone showing kindness that you can think of? Anything that really impacted you that someone did or said, or?
I had someone buy me coffee once.
They bought you coffee? Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Well,
Yeah.
that was kind. Was it like a pay it forward situation, or?
I think so. Well, my daughter and I, we do it every Friday on our way into school. We stop at Dunkin' Donuts and we always pay for the coffee for the person behind us.
Uh-huh.
And we had stopped on a different day, and the person in front of me paid for our stuff. So
That's cool.
yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah. Anybody else think of a phone call or a card or maybe a surprise gift that was anonymous or maybe not anonymous? Any scenarios that really made a difference in your life at a time that you needed it? My daughter has the gift of encouragement. She also loves to buy gifts. She's extremely thoughtful about her gifts. She would never in a million years will you get a gift card for my daughter or cash, never. And every Easter we used to do an Easter egg hunt. And then when the kids got older, keep in mind I have 5 teenagers. When the kids got older, we did these brown bags that she would just put the candy in there. And it was my daughter who did it. It wasn't even me. And every year they get trickier and trickier. Like finding your Easter bag might involve a ladder because we're dealing with teens. But this year we wondered what would happen because we've been doing that Easter egg hunt like 15 years. We have pictures from many years back. And so my other daughter who lives with me, she and I decided that we were going to color Easter eggs and put them in my daughter's yard for my granddaughter and some other candy and stuff. And we got up at 7 thinking that would be good enough, but I should have known, because when we walked out of the house to sneak over to my daughter's house to decorate the yard, she had already been there. She had been to our house. And I was like, oh no, she beat us. And now we're going to get caught. And so it ended up she dropped stuff at my sister's house and my mom's house, but I passed her on the way back from her house. So we did get caught. She knew obviously it was us anyway, but that's her way of showing kindness. And I know we all have different love languages, but it could be an encouraging note. There are times that a note, especially an anonymous one, can literally be life-changing, because when the Holy Spirit leads you to say something and you follow through with that, you just don't know, like that person could have desperately needed that verse or that word that you put in there. So can you guys see my screen? Can you see random acts of kindness?
Yes.
On the screen? Awesome. So
Yes.
Can you take it down, but Jamie, because I can only see your face now.
Up at the top, so you can't see the bingo
No,
board?
I can only see you and the random acts of kindness, so I don't know what's.
There's a way to minimize that. It's a little subtraction sign, should be up in the upper right-hand corner. You can also change views. There's speaker view and then there's gallery view. I think you probably want speaker view because I think you want to see my screen. I'll send you the link though too, just in case. When I look at it, all I see is the random acts of kindness, so I don't know how to do anything differently. I'll experiment with that for next time though. So I'm going to read these off, but feel free to jump in and unmute yourself if you want to say something. I'm not going to control the mute and unmute. There's only like 14 of us, something like that. So you can just talk when you feel led. The first one there is mail a card to a friend. send a thank you note to your pastor. I love cards. Dollar Tree is a fabulous place to get them. You can get them blank and they're cheap. You can get like 8 to 12 for $1. So if you're looking for cards, feel free to do that. Some people love, obviously, to make cards. So if that's your thing, go for it. Send a thank you note to your pastor. Donate food to a local food pantry, whether that be the church or somewhere else. Lots of places are looking for donations of non-perishable food. Wave at a neighbor when you're walking. That sounds funny that we have to tell people that and that we call that a random act of kindness, but in reality, it really is. Who knows what they might be struggling with. And I find the face masks make it even more difficult. Anybody else feel that way? I was smiling at someone and then I realized, oh, they don't even know that I'm smiling at them because they can't see my face. And so if you use your hand, or actually say a little louder than normal, maybe, since you're supposed to be 6 feet apart, just have a good day or something like that. Anybody else find that people feel just a little less friendly if you've been out in public? I feel like they're a little paranoid, like everybody thinks everybody has a germ, maybe.
Yeah. I have found in our community, walking around, that there's been a little bit more like the reverse. Like it's like everyone's conscious of that, like the fact that we're all in this together. And so I've had it's a pretty friendly neighborhood, but I've had more people say hi than the reverse. So that's really good. I have found, in the pharmacy, more stressful people coming in, but that's probably because, the nature of the business, but not in my community, which is good. What I was thinking about, Jamie, was about, when we had the Secret Sister.
Yeah.
That was when I felt, the kindness of the Secret Sister. I got just, what she did. Like, yeah, that just really blew me away. All the little notes and gifts and cards. That was a really great idea. Yeah. It meant a lot to me.
And it doesn't have to cost a lot. It's the
No.
thoughtfulness. And even just when I saw those brown paper bags on my porch from my daughter, I thought, what time did she have to get up to do that? And the stuff inside was handmade. She had banana bread shaped in Easter egg little pan things, and everything was wrapped with this pretty string, and everything was color coordinated. And it doesn't have to be that way. You could have just given a brown bag with some candy in it and it might have meant the same thing. But for me, because I know her, I know the heart that went into that and her desire to just make it that special. So one of the other options that says there is wipe down a grocery cart for someone. I don't know if you've been to the store. If you shop at Giant, the wipes are no longer out where the grocery carts are. You have to walk in the store to get the wipe and then walk back out and wipe your grocery cart. And a couple times I've gone, there's not been any wipes. And so you might think ahead to actually bring some along. And knowing what short supply they are, wouldn't that be an act of kindness if you were to share one of those? By the way, if you have extra, the Capital Area Pregnancy Center is still operating fully. They're still seeing people. There are little baby lives that are still being saved, and they are running out of disinfectant wipes. And so they're asking for donations of those. If you have any extra, you can leave them on the porch at the Capital Area Pregnancy Center. That's on Gettysburg Road in Camp Hill. Texting an encouraging Bible verse to someone. It's amazing what we can do in the power of a text. Even just as I have welcomed new people to the church, the one day I timed it just to see, because I have shared in class before that God has challenged me to say, rather than saying, I don't have time for that, he's challenged me to say, well, how long would that really take? And is that a true statement that you don't have time for it? Or is it just that you're not making time for it? So when I was reaching out to a new person, I timed it to see exactly how long does it take me to make a connection via text with someone. and what's the result of that. And so the girl that I was texting responded right away, but we had a 7-minute conversation that consisted of maybe 4 or 5 different texts. And she hasn't missed a class since then and is now serving in other areas of the church. And I'm not saying that's completely because I reached out to her, but she was fearful that being in a large church, she wouldn't make any connections, and was really grateful for the opportunity to connect with someone. So I would challenge you, before you say you don't have time for something, give it a little test and see how long does it really take.
She's rolling it down.
So give a roll of toilet paper to someone in need. That, like the wipes, that's a compromise. Send a thank you note to a nurse or a doctor. Jamoki, what have you guys seen in terms of people reaching out to you? I saw balloons in front of the medical center. I saw that on the news. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yes. There's so many volunteer services in the hospital. People bringing chocolates, some companies. I mean, even for my department, for instance, we have a lot of the eateries in the area. They bring dinner, they bring lunch, breakfast for our workers. And I mean, I was just going to work yesterday and just entering into the hospital. I saw this lady with a cart full of goodies, and she was like, do you want one? You can take anything. And I was like, wow, okay, this is nice. You know?
Oh,
That's awesome.
So yeah, there's been a lot of, and then people just send cards and they send thank you notes to those that have taken part in their care, and it's just been, yeah, people have been very grateful. People have been very good.
In Adams County, which is below us, I saw in Adams County there were actually several gas stations who were offering free gas to healthcare workers. I thought that was pretty cool as well.
Yeah.
And somebody else, there was a hotel who was offering for healthcare workers or first responders to stay in their hotel if they weren't able to stay isolated when they go home with their families.
Yeah, they did that for us at the Hershey Hotel opposite the hospital. If you have to stay overnight and you cannot, or you're too tired to drive, you could just go there and stay there for free.
Wow, that's nice. If they're going to be empty anyway, what a great way. Cool.
Yeah.
Call a family member, maybe a family member that you don't typically touch base with. Call them and just touch base with them, see how they are, just listening to people. Write a positive restaurant or book review. I thought that was a cool one, especially if you've gotten takeout recently. Share a positive review. Give someone a compliment. Write a message of hope on your sidewalk. Have you guys seen some of those? They're super cool.
Yeah.
Thank the grocery store cashier.
Yeah.
We might not, we think of first responders and healthcare workers because they're the ones who seem to be relieving our pain and our suffering. But the grocery store clerks, they're putting themselves out there. They're in danger. And I know a lot of them have gotten raises recently, but what is it, $12, $15 an hour to risk what they're risking with the germs and all of that. So thanking them as well. Same with the postal workers. Generously tip your delivery person. Lend a board game or a book to a neighbor. When my daughter dropped stuff off to my mom, she told her everything has been sanitized. She put it in individual freezer bags after she sanitized it, and dropped off. My mom loves puzzles, so she dropped off some puzzles, and then encourage a mom or dad. What I'm seeing, and I'd like to hear what you guys say as well, but what I'm seeing in terms of needs, I see moms who are forced into being homeschool moms, who didn't want to be homeschool moms, who are stressed out. I'm seeing moms with little kids who are stir crazy and bored. I'm seeing moms of teenagers whose teenagers are stir crazy and are making them nuts. And then I'm seeing people who are lonely. I think there's moms of all stages that we could be encouraging. What are you guys seeing as some of the needs out there, either with yourself or people that you know? What do you think the biggest needs are right now?
I, for me, have been seeing a lot of moms who are overwhelmed, especially with the thought of, and I don't want to call it homeschooling because it's not.
Right,
Remote learning for sure, I feel like is putting a struggle on moms, especially if they are still working
right.
or, attempting to work. So my heart goes out to those moms because I feel like I got several texts, like when they shut school down, I got several texts from friends who were like, I can't do this. There's
Yeah.
no way I can stay home with my kids and, homeschool them and work or, whatever. And I was just trying to be encouraging. And first of all, I don't want anybody to get a negative connotation that this is what homeschooling is, because it's not.
Right.
So like, well, we're not really homeschooling, we're remote learning. and just offered encouragement. And you know what? I've said to several people, the public school can't run your life. If it's too much, it's too much. Send a note into the school and say it's too much. We can't do it. We can't accomplish it. I know for my district where I'm at, they're doing a pass-fail system. So as long as your kid is accomplishing something, they're passing for the school year. So,
Right.
but that's the need that I see. I feel
Right.
like moms are struggling, and if dad is home too, they're really
Yeah.
struggling.
Anybody else, moms or otherwise? What are the other needs that you're seeing, or what are your needs?
Jamie, for myself, I find it hard just thinking about not being able to, if something did happen to my mum and dad, for being in Australia. Like I know, like from like hearing about you and your mum, and I thought it was awful. But then my next thought was, you were able to get there. Do you know what I mean? Like you were able to, to go and take her to the hospital. And I'm just, I've been asking for prayer, because I just contact them every day and just think, if there's anything that happened to them, and I pray that nothing will, that I physically cannot get to them. So far they're good, but yeah, and that's for anybody else who's in like most of my international family over here. We're all military wives, and we've all come from different countries, and we're all in the same boat now. We can't get back to our own countries to look after, children or parents or siblings that, if they're affected. So yeah, for my people in my situation as well. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Anyone else? What are needs that you're recognizing?
I have this is Jamoke. So
Yeah.
I have colleagues at work where, their parents live very close by, but they can't even go and visit their parents. They just kind of talk from the walkway or from their car, or they take groceries for them and drop it for them on the door. And some of them are feeling really like they feel bad that they're not able to get close and, just talk to them, talking to them through the window or stuff like that. And so, yeah, that's some of the things that I've noticed. And also how to keep the kids busy during this period.
Yeah.
Apart from school work, which many of them are not used to doing online, but also to actually keep them busy and making useful time, making good use of their time while at home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else?
Hey, Jamie.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with I have like some slight jealousy of, like, say, Pastor Christian being able to, and Pastor Shane being able to go to church on Sunday, be in church, or
Yeah.
like my gym instructors being able to go to like our gym and do our, like, I'm grateful that we can have like a virtual class, but they get to actually go and like be where we usually get to be and use the equipment that we usually get to use, and like,
Yeah.
and I don't get to go there. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I have like a slight, and it's not like I don't think it's unhealthy. Do you know what I mean? But it's like a sadness.
Yeah, it's
slash-
disappointing. Yep.
And I'm also kind of dealing with the whole like homeschool virtual learning.
Mhm.
But Carrie's been awesome, so she's like keeping me grounded.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm just surprised by how many kids are stir crazy, because I'm thinking about whenever I was growing up in the 90s and the internet was just new and you really didn't have a whole lot. I mean, these kids have so much available to them. Is it just because they want somebody's time? Is that why they're stir crazy? Do they want like their parents to spend time with them? Because I don't understand. I don't have kids. So,
Mhm.
so whenever I hear that they're going stir crazy, I'm like, you have how many movies? We have how many streaming services? A lot of online stuff is free for the month. And then there's that great courses, like you can do learning that way. Curiosity has their subscription is $12 for the whole year. You know, like there's all of these learning apps, and I just don't understand. So if somebody can tell me, like, what is it with the kids that they're stir crazy?
Yeah.
I do think it's an attention thing. I know my husband and I are both still working, and trying to manage the remote schooling while we do that. It's taking my daughter some days like 12 hours plus to finish her lessons, even though she should fully be able to accomplish them sooner. And I think some of that is just she uses her imagination, which is great, but at the same time, she just wants, face-to-face attention with the person.
Yeah.
I think it's
I
important
think
to remember that this is a traumatic experience for them. Everybody's off their routine. Kids really thrive on routine, especially if they've been going to public school and that's their thing. So now they're missing their teachers, they're missing their friends. Home life is different because mom might be home now, or mom and dad are home, which is a whole different dynamic. The paradigm of the family has shifted now. Something that helped us is we started like a whole routine. Like we don't get up as early as we would if we were going to school, but we do get up and we have a breakfast time. And then I like listed everything down, and my kids only get 2 hours of like movie time or internet time for the day. And we have it like spaced out. You can use your tickets in like 15-minute intervals or 30-minute intervals, just so that they're not constantly on an electronic or in front of a movie. But I think it's important just to remember that for them, and I think we're thinking, oh, it's not that bad, they're just home, but it's a huge paradigm shift for them, and they don't understand it. I mean, I know I'm real careful about what I even tell mine about what's going on.
Yeah.
'Cause
Don't you think we all benefit from routine as well? I think that would be a good, a healthy way to help us keep a sound mind by keeping a routine, forcing yourself to get dressed, forcing yourself, to do your hair, or whatever you typically would do if you were going out to work or out somewhere else. I think it's easy for us to get in a slump and fall backwards and give in to some of those mental health issues if we do not continue to establish routines. I think that's great advice, Carrie, that we just keep on forging on. Anybody else have any other thoughts, any other needs that you see, anything unique that we haven't mentioned before?
I have a friend who is a widow, and she has children that are helping her but busy. And I try to talk to her every other day at least. I think she's very lonely. She's a very strong Christian, but I think she's also fearful of going out. So
Yeah.
she doesn't go out hardly at all.
Mhm.
And I think it's working on her. She's lonely.
Yeah.
So I try to call her and encourage her. And she's, like I said, she's a very strong Christian. She always has wonderful Bible studies and devotions that she does every day. But I can still hear her loneliness. And she hasn't had a hot water tank. It broke like 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
And she doesn't want to burden her children to push them to take care of it. She had a construction guy that was going to put it in, and then he got too busy. So she's been boiling water on the stove and
Oh,
like doing
goodness.
sponge baths and doing her dishes that way. And it's like, how can
Wow.
you stand it? But she's trying to be so patient and so undemanding of her kids that, so they're trying to, I think she's getting one next week, but next week it'll be a month.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how she's doing it.
Yeah. Loneliness is a real issue, and no matter what your age. And I think that there are different things that I've seen. Did you know you can do a Netflix watch party where you can actually watch a movie with someone at the same time and discuss it? You can
cool.
also, you could read a book together and, read it at night and call someone the next day and say, tell me what you loved about that chapter. Or there's all kinds of things that you can do just to keep regular conversation. And if you can attach some sort of, again, routine and structure, like if someone's going to be calling me to ask me what I thought about that book, then it's probably more likely that you'll do that. And it's also something, if you can schedule things regularly, it gives people something to look forward to, so that even if today's a rough day, if I know tomorrow so-and-so's calling me and I'm not going to be alone, then it gives you something to count on. So something as simple as, just every day at 2:00, you call someone who's lonely and you talk for 15 minutes, and just go ahead and set a timer if you need to, but, and you can say to someone, would it be okay if I call you every day at 2? I have from 2 to 2:15 free, and I'd love to catch up each day. And just something that simple.
Yeah.
We didn't discuss any type of financial needs. What we're noticing, especially at the church, with food, initially the need for food was low. But now that people have been off work longer, and even though a lot of people will be able to collect unemployment and they might have a stimulus check coming, if they didn't do direct deposit, that's not coming for a while, most likely. I think as time goes on, that's when we're going to see the financial need become more apparent, especially if it's people who were not able to start off. If they're already starting off negative and now they're missing a paycheck, then obviously that's going to create an even bigger situation. So simple things like, obviously you could drop groceries off at someone else's house, but there are ways that we can use words to help people maintain their dignity in the middle of their need. When you say something to someone like, how can I help you? You're now requiring even more of the person who has a need. But if you said something like, I'm going to the store, I was going to pick up bread, would it be okay if I get you a loaf as well? Or don't even ask them, just pick it up and drop it off. You could say something like, I'm making soup tonight and I just threw a little more chicken in the pot. Could I drop some off for you? Or don't even say, could I drop some off? Say, what time would be okay for me to drop off some soup that I made? There are ways that you can help people and make it easier for them to accept help. Some people have no problem accepting help. Other people, especially if they're givers, it's difficult when you're a giver to actually receive something. And I think what we're going to experience in times like this, even as the weeks come, people who don't typically need help now need help. And so God doesn't make us beg, and I don't think we should make other people beg either. They shouldn't be made to feel like they're our project. And so if there's a way that you can bless someone and still help them to maintain their dignity, keep that in mind and try to do it that way. One of those groups of people that are going to have needs if they don't already is small businesses. And so our bottom square there says purchase a gift card from a small business. If there's a way that you can support a small business, go ahead and go for it. And there are lots of restaurants that are small businesses offering takeout. And I think as we go back to business as usual, keep in mind that there will be, I think it'll probably be a progression. And so just keep your eyes open for ways that you can support small business. Have something fun in your windows to bless others. Anybody's neighborhood doing anything fun?
Yes, we're doing putting a bear in the window.
Mm-hmm.
And last Easter, we were encouraged to put a picture of an Easter egg.
Okay.
So it was those two things. Yeah. we were
Anybody
doing.
else in your
Yeah,
neighborhood?
our neighborhood is doing one item a week, a different thing. So I think we started up St. Patrick's Day. So we did like a shamrock, and then we did a bunny, and then we did a bear. Last week was an egg. This week, my daughter's decorated the door for Jesus. So we didn't push that on anybody else because some of our neighborhood are not Christians yet. So
Yeah.
but every week we're theming, we start on Wednesdays and go through to the weekend. We did the rainbow thing one weekend.
Our neighborhood does luminaries at Christmas time, and they decided to do the luminaries during this stuff to try to be an encouragement to people.
Oh,
I
fun.
love that.
Yeah, me too. I haven't put mine away from Christmas. What were you going to say, Kathy?
No, I was just going to say that my neighborhood's really a wonderful neighborhood too. And the kids have put like signs in the yard, and just saying, keep going, we're in this together. So you walk through the neighborhood and there's like, just things that they've created, and it's really nice. And of course, all the chalk on the sidewalks and driveways.
That's cool.
Another thing our neighborhood has done is they're getting a food truck like once a week from one of the small businesses, which helps both the neighborhood out and those businesses who probably wouldn't necessarily have as much, and usually like pre-order so that they know what to prepare, and they'll deliver in various ways.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Even if it's not your neighborhood, have you seen anything on the news or Facebook that people are doing that's unifying?
I love the sing-along things that you see in neighborhoods in different countries. It's wonderful.
Yep, it is cool.
I also like the Tyrannosaurus Rex costumes.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. The next box says mail a letter to a loved one. When was the last time you hand wrote something? I was careful not to lick the envelopes of the things that I've been sending in the mail. It's probably not good, but I found at Dollar Tree, probably last year, I found these cards, and I liked them because they were really uniquely shaped. But it says thrilled for you on the front, and then it's empty inside. And so I've been scouring Facebook and other places looking for someone that I can send a thrilled for you card. And there have been situations like where someone's having a baby or someone got a promotion. There are not just like our high school seniors, obviously, who are missing out on a whole bunch, but there are people in life, whether it be tomorrow's my son's 16th birthday. We also are going to miss my other son's 18th birthday. My daughter turned 30. There are these milestones where we typically would have made a big to-do about it. And I decided we're having one humongous birthday bash as soon as we can. We're going to have to get a park because it's so many kids combined with these milestones. But there are people who got a promotion at their work, or maybe an adult who finished college, and just different things that if it wasn't clouded by this COVID, we would be celebrating. And I think it's important that we just go ahead and celebrate them so that it's not, they work forever to make those accomplishments. And then because we're consumed with all the COVID stuff, we forget about that. So I would encourage you, just go ahead and do what you would normally do, just obviously with social distancing, but you can send a card for just about anything. Bake a treat and share with neighbor. We kind of talked about that. And then let someone else go first. That's something we could do at any point, but especially in times, I don't know if you've been to the grocery store where you have to actually wait outside before you can get in because they're counting the number of people in the store. Imagine the blessing that that would be to someone if you let someone go ahead of you. And I was at Walmart a couple weeks ago, and I was in the toilet paper aisle, and they had just, I want to say stocked it, but in a Walmart that's, hundreds of thousands of square feet, and they put like 8 packs of toilet paper out. That's not stocking it, but that's all they had. And they actually had 3 employees standing there by the toilet paper to be sure that you only took one. They were limiting you to one. And I came up one side of the aisle, and this man came up in another side of the aisle, the other end, and he was reaching for the toilet paper, and there was a woman who was in front of me, and I thought they were going to fight over it. And I just thought, there was, 3 or 4 more rolls, so I still got some, but I thought, that's a scarcity mentality. That's not what God would want us to do. And I'm not saying that, you have to give away all your toilet paper, but I just think if there's an opportunity to trust God and let him take care of us, I think that's a way to show honor to someone. So letting someone go first might actually mean that they get the last roll of toilet paper, not you. But I believe that God can provide that in other ways as well. So that's everything on our squares. I'm going to send with this a link to a handout that I made that just kind of has different ways that we can word things to help people have dignity, just some different things that we can do. My handout does not have anything to do with COVID, so you'll see on there things that definitely aren't social distancing. So obviously you want to ignore that for the time being, but I like it because it's got words on there that you could use to just make accepting a gift or thoughtfulness easier. So anybody have any thoughts on the stuff we talked about tonight? Any additional ideas that were not mentioned on here, ways that we can bless people during this time frame?
I think just continuing to reach out to people,
Yeah.
because I'm in a house full of 8 people and I can still feel lonely.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just continuing to reach out, and because that's why I love the Tuesday. I hop on every Bible study, any kind of Zoom I can hop on, because I want to see another adult.
Yes. Yes. It's true.
Seeing you ladies.
Yeah. Anybody have anything that from tonight that you think you might act on? I'm going to find my luminaries.
That's what I was going to say. I'm ready to dig out my Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody, I don't know how to make masks, but I was wondering if people that could make masks in our group could do that and then maybe send it out to our members, or because my aunt called me from Chicago and she was like, oh, my husband just went to pick up masks from the church. And I was like, masks from the church? She said, yes, that the church got people to make masks and then you just go and pick enough for your family. And they're reusable, so you can just wash them every day. But they had enough to go around, and I thought that was a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Because I went to Giants the other day and I saw one of the workers there. He had no mask, he had no gloves on, and I was asking him, like, so why are you not wearing a mask? And he said, oh, I wasn't given one by my employer. And I was like, okay, your employer could give you, but they're not obliged to give you. It's for your own safety. So it's something that you could get. So I think I just thought that that was a very cool idea to be able to get masks out for people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Keep our ears open for people doing that. We did have Carol Piper made some masks and brought them in, but they distributed them to people who are volunteering, like at the food bank. But yeah, we'll definitely keep our ears open. I think as the masks are mandated, there's going to be even more of a need. I did hear, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, so double check, but I did hear that the disposable masks, you can put them in the oven at 170 degrees and
Please
it will
don't.
sterilize them. Is that true?
Please don't.
Please don't.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You don't want to use your own oven. Yeah.
Now we'll have a house fire too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a
How
group
how
on
did the
Facebook.
fire start? Well,
There's a-
sir.
There's a group on Facebook called the Mask Crusaders.
Oh,
If you reach out to them, they are giving out masks for free
oh,
Oh,
cool.
awesome.
to a lot of people. I've made 3 today, but I'm having a hard time finding elastic.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. And I've seen a lady in our community put on our community that she was making free masks for anybody in the community who needed them. But that's just in our community. I know Eve Boom, B-A-U, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I know she's selling them through her business, but I don't know anyone else at church that's actually making them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep our ears open. Okay. Any other thoughts right now?
Do you say prayer points,
Yes.
Jamie?
Yep.
Yeah. So I got permission from one of the ladies in our on my table just then